Okay. We can get going here. To slide 20. All right. Steps in the departmental evaluation. So identify department objectives, identify criteria for success. And then once you got your criteria, you figure out your appraisal factors. And then you execute data collection methods and exercise management controls. Pretty simple. Elements of the departmental level evaluation. So I'm going to go through each of these here. So one, department objectives. The logical starting point for any departmental performance system is an analysis of its objectives. Once this analysis is complete, the department structure and responsibilities assigned to each work group should be examined. So the procedure will normally identify the critical activities where evaluation and control are most important. And usually this will reveal that the critical points at which evaluation and control should be performed in procurement lie in the sourcing function. No surprise to anybody. It's often found that the performance in some areas is difficult to express quantitatively. And companies therefore try to establish performance targets for the measurable secondary factors. So if you run into an area where you're trying to measure and it's difficult, look at some of the secondary factors. For example, you can check buying performance by measuring actual prices paid against the target price for a common pricing service, such as the American metals market. And recognizing that a single factor alone may not provide an accurate indication of buying performance, a cross-check should be done with multiple comparisons, although depending on how much time you have. So then you want to create criteria for success. So procurement must identify how it can contribute to the company's objectives and then develop metrics that move it in a direction that reinforces those objectives. So you got to be able to show how you're helping out the company. For example, if the company's objective is to be a low-cost producer, procurement's department objective would be to find low-cost suppliers. Once you got your criteria, then you look at your appraisal factors. Performance measures provide a basis for appraising procurement's proficiency. So some common procurement performance measures include things like contributions to profitability or success of the core activity. I wouldn't call that common, but okay. Total value and maximum use of available resources are primary concerns of business. So procurement must identify how it can influence the core activity of the company. Timeliness of actions. The following three metrics are often used to indicate how effectively the timeliness responsibility is fulfilled. Percentage of orders overdue off of PO dates, percentage of stock outs at the production line, number of production operation stoppages caused by late deliveries. That's kind of related to stock outs, also measured at production line. And then material service costs. So several techniques provide a cross-check on the reasonableness of prices paid for materials. The standard or target prices can be established. Prices actually paid can then be measured against them. It gives you the purchase price variance. So we don't use that here at PACCAR because we buy in such big volume that we only are going to pay one price, and that's the price on the contract. So it doesn't vary. In a smaller firm, you'll have to write a number of POs for the same part throughout the year. And each time you could be paying a different price. Average price paid for major classes of materials. The metric could measure the trend in average prices. So this could be PACCAR with aluminum. These trends can then be measured against matching indices such as those published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And this can also show where costs are rising faster than the market. So we do this quite a bit with steel and aluminum, and as much as we can with anything else. Benchmark the supplier's prices against an index. Periodic cost savings figures can be individually charted for savings arising from activities such as negotiation, value analysis, and transportation. It's just hard to convince accounting that these are actual savings. And if the company engages in forward buying, gains and losses can be measured to determine forecast accuracy. I don't know of any companies that really engage in forward buying, which is buying ahead of demand. Measure of percentage of purchase orders that are issued without firm prices is a measure of spot or emergency buying. This would be e-buys for PACCAR. Material quality, once specifications are established, measure of the rejected parts divided by the receipts gives you your parts per million, or PPM. It's rejected parts divided by the number of receipts for the same parts times a million. Quick shorthand for quality. Supplier reliability measures include things like late deliveries, rejected items, incorrect materials were shipped, incorrect quantities, orders on which split shipments were made, reliability of transportation services, etc. And supplier development, generally the more reliable the supplier, the lower the total cost of the supplier's product. Order quantity and inventory investment. Supply management's failure to buy the right quantity, the amount that prevents stockouts yet minimize the amount of money tied up in inventory, can be measured in the following ways. A chart showing target and actual inventory levels by material classification, which I don't think anybody does. A chart showing inventory turnover rates, usually between 4 and 12 times per year. Higher is better, so this is what everybody uses. So cost of goods sold, say it's $10,000, divided by average inventory, say it's $1,000, for usually a period of a year, would give you a inventory turnover rate of 10, which is really good. So average inventory is usually calculated by adding the beginning and ending inventory and dividing by 2 to yield the annual number. So basically you would go look at, if it's a public company, you'd go look at the financials, and from the income statement, you'd get the cost of goods sold, and then you would divide that by taking the balance sheet and getting the beginning inventory at the beginning of the year and the end inventory at the end of the year, divide by 2. A report of dead stock materials carried in stores, so stuff that isn't turning at all. The number of stockouts and production stoppages, usually measured on the production floor, and a list of supplier stocking arrangements that have been negotiated, along with an estimate of resulting inventory savings. This is usually where you have the supplier coming in and stocking stuff and counting it. It's like what we do with fasteners. Customer satisfaction, external customers, procurement should identify metrics and benchmarks for the company's customer satisfaction that they can affect. And we're pretty removed from it here at PACCAR and purchasing. Internal customers, though, as support organizations, procurement needs to understand the requirements of its internal customers. Feedback can be via conversations or surveys. And creativity, while often difficult to quantify, the degree to which procurement can positively influence creativity can be an important measure of effectiveness. It's just, the question is, how do you measure that? Internal audits of self-assessments and self-assessments. An audit is used to identify strengths and weaknesses and develop a plan of action to improve performance. The differences found by comparing self-assessments with those from an audit gives a good indication of areas where procurement may be complacent or non-responsive to internal needs. So that's interesting. You compare the self-assessment that procurement does with an audit. Supplier and stakeholder feedback. Suppliers and other stakeholders should be given the opportunity to provide feedback to procurement. Can be done on surveys, that type of thing. And best practice studies, benchmarking. The goal is to find a company that is the best in a particular area. And then you ask the question, how do we compare it to that company or the leading edge companies? Exercising management control in response to results. Evaluation should be ongoing process and catalyst for improvement in the procurement function. It also means validating performance to meet management's expectations. So benchmarking. Results of benchmarking allows the company to determine if the way they are performing the process is the same as, better, or worse than the way other companies perform. So before you go benchmarking, you need to look at these questions. Is the company willing to make a change? Is the expected improvement worth the expenditure? And are the expected results important? Does the process affect critical success factors? And have all alternatives been explored? Has the company begun measuring the current process? Does the company know the major cost components? Is the company willing to wait for a benchmarking study? And is the company willing to reveal information about its own processes to other companies? All good questions. Concept of strategic supply management department. So in cooperation with its internal customers, procurement will conduct long-range planning and forecasting, market studies, and competitive analysis. So this is ISM is making the case for a group within the procurement department to be called the strategic supply management department. And this is the kind of thing that they would do: long-range planning, forecasting, market studies, etc. Procurement will develop and maintain long-term relationships with strategic suppliers, encouraging them to provide strategic information, technology, and assistance. Procurement as a profit center. Some companies, usually service companies, will do this. Some companies require internal departments to bid for and sell their services to other departments in the company or other companies. This can be put into practice by having procurement charge other departments or by spinning off procurement into its own corporation. And both have happened, but usually not in a goods producing company. Profit center must meet 3 conditions. Value got to be added, capital is employed productively, and revenue is generated and costs are incurred. And the revenue is going to be bigger than the costs. So procurement is a cost center. If procurement is viewed as a cost center, which is what Packard views procurement as, then its objective is to achieve its goals with the minimum expenditure of labor and capital. A cost center must meet the following conditions: emphasizes cost, not profit. It's controlled by a budget. Does not necessarily encourage risk-taking. Packard's a pretty conservative company anyway, so generally does not allow procurement to spend money to make money. Yeah, procurement, the only thing procurement buys in its budget is personnel and office furniture, travel. Strategic supply management, evaluation of outsourced supply functions. So outsourced supply management functions should be evaluated on how well they support the objectives of internal customers. Examples of outsourced supply management include cooperatives and consortiums, third-party logistics, which is what we would call our MSS organizations, etc. An evaluation of feasibility and impact of outsourcing supply functions. So the decision to outsource needs to be treated as a make or buy decision. Cross-functional teams should look at the potential benefits and problems and approach the issue as if the company were contracting for a new service. And you could have additional evaluation factors such as loss of direct control, potential for service quality problems, and current and forecast cost of outsourcing versus in-house cost. All right. So the primary reason for performing departmental level evaluations is to determine a department effectiveness in meeting organizational needs. Sounds okay. The effectiveness of departmental management, maybe. the resources needed for departmental improvement. I don't think so. Whether or not value is added by the function. I don't think so. I think it's probably A. Let's see here. A it is. Measuring department performance is to determine and ensure the department is effectively meeting the needs of the organization. Okay. There's a summary and there's a case study if you want to do it. And now there are questions out there on chat, so we'll pick them up. We want to do questions 9 through 16, and I'll go over them, answers shortly. Oh, you are here.
Surprise.
All right, so we got questions 9 through 16. And it's already, it should have been on the chat from yesterday. 3C3 there.
I'm done.
Okay. Go get some answers here. C3. Number 9 is Charlie. Dave's supply is an operational level. 10 is Delta. Successful communication is the measure of personal balance and people.
What? Sorry. No. Really? That doesn't make.
Yeah, so if we look at it, what did this question ask?
So that's 11.
Oh, yeah. What the heck happened there? So that one's right. What is 10? Maybe we're missing that answer.
Operations? I mean, it should be operations.
Yeah, I had C. What do we got on 11? No, looks like we're just missing that one. Yeah, I had operations too, so 10 is D, or 11 is D.
Okay, 12.
I'll have to dig up that answer. Oh, and then now they're off by 1 too, so I got 16 there. Okay. Negotiations. That question was what question?
That's 12. Negotiating to gain
Yeah.
advantage is not a key management skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
13, it's probably 12. Before the fact controls or benchmark. No, that one wasn't in there. 13 is budgets. So this is the question that's missing.
Okay.
Yeah. 14 is Bravo. Specifications are typically the responsibility of engineering.
Mhm.
15 is Charlie. Human capital is an outsourced process. It's responsibility of the.
Really?
Is that?
Huh.
Let's see what that question says.
Is,
Which it
yeah.
finds least important. I would have gone with that.
Yeah.
Outsource support. What did these guys say? C. Let's see if that's outsource support. Human capital is an outsourced process and responsibility of the supplier.
Okay.
Option
I
is
viewed it more as like, okay, I have evaluated that I don't have enough people and I need to hire a KPIT. It's
Yeah.
illegal to say you're 50 and I am 40 and therefore we're different.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, because I mean, in the United States, there's laws since the 60s saying you can't discriminate against age. So I don't know. It's a weird
Okay.
question.
Okay.
All right, 16 is alpha replenishment time on purchase orders is a measure of customer service and satisfaction.
Mm.
Yep. Okay. All right, so we'll start a new section tomorrow. That's going to take a couple days, and that's going to be, what is it? 4. Oh, hire and retain personnel.
Thanks.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.